Howdy, boys, girls. Welcome back. It is week 2 of the 12th season of the Carla Crappy Show. It is week 1 of the college football season. And Carla, this is like Labor Day weekend has turned into like this little mini bowl season.
It has, right? Yeah. It's 5 days of college football. Get ready, everybody. Here we go.
But I'm Crappy. That's Carla.
Hi.
I'm in Pittsburgh. She's in Nashville.
Yes.
She's got her Blue Raider shirt on.
I do, yeah, because we have this little game. I'll talk about it at the end of the show. We a
little game, yeah.
Some fun stuff happening on campus around it. So it's gonna be a fun weekend.
Okay.
All of my games are at the same time. There's 5 days of college football, and all of my games are at the same time on Saturday night. Like, how did that happen? I'm gonna have to have multiple screens. I mean, I have to have multiple screens anyway, but like,
yes.
What are the odds that all the games that I am emotionally invested in are at 7:30 Eastern on Saturday night?
That is just how it works sometimes.
That's how it works.
That is how it works sometimes. This is going to be fantastic. I don't know how much you got to watch last weekend. Actually, decent games, perhaps not the excitement level that you would want, but a lot of fun stuff going on. Did you did anything catch your eye from last weekend?
So the biggest thing that caught my eye is the fact that was week 0. And thank goodness that was just a warm-up week for all of us, because I think I got almost everything wrong, which is a great way to start the 12th season of the Carla and Crappy Show. Because, I figured New Mexico State was going to beat UMass.
Who thinks UMass is going to win that game? Come on.
Exactly. Nobody thought UMass was going to win that game except for UMass.
UMass didn't think they were going to win that game. They were like, no, I'm sorry. No, we're not really going to win this.
But they did. And then Jacksonville State, you called it. A game at home with a relatively even opponent and coming in off of FCS. So yeah, Gamecocks get a nice win in their first game in the FBS, moving up into the CUSA. We'll see them later this season. So yeah, just kind of bizarre stuff all over the place. I should clear the record here. My husband and I actually ended up not going to the Vandy Hawaii game.
Okay.
And I'm actually kind of glad that we didn't, because that game had like a 2-hour lightning delay. That they didn't even kick until after 8:30 Central Time, local time here in Nashville. And I actually went to that qualified as an after dark game, and I went to bed at halftime. Because I was tired. But yeah, so I mean, that was kind of a bummer that we couldn't get that to work out. But actually, with the way that the weather worked out, I'm actually kind of glad that we didn't do that, because it was also still like 9,000 degrees.
Yes.
So it was stupid humid, stupid hot, lightning all over the place. Not a great night to be in Vanderbilt Stadium, or whatever it's called now.
Way to sell it, Carly. That sounds delightful.
Yeah. Well, if you saw that game and you saw even in half a stadium how empty those stands were, that's because of the delay. All the students just don't wait that stuff out there. It happens. So, and that game, kudos to Hawaii. I said they were going to keep that game close. I didn't think they were going to keep it that close, because they were right in it.
Mm-hmm. I'm choosing to think that is improvement over the game from a year ago, because as we mentioned, they played week 0 last year in Oahu, and that was a rough outing for the beloved Bows, but much better performance this time, and that turned out to be a tight game. So very, very cool.
I saved your game for you, because that was. I hope they were just holding Rourke out, as you mentioned, like for conference play. Like, I hope that's what's happening, and that it wasn't a more severe injury.
It was not. Tim Melvin said in post game that Rourke was kind of annoyed that he wasn't allowed back in the game, but it was just a situation where. And it wasn't anything to do with the leg that he had surgery on. It was a thing with the other leg and an ankle, and they were just being very, very cautious. And and they need some of it is him, because he runs, he scrambles a lot, he is fearless. But OU really needs to make sure we can figure out how to keep him upright. If OU is going to have the kind of season that I think it's capable of having. CJ Harris is good. He's the backup quarterback. He came in at the end of the season last year, after Rourke's knee injury. Was the MVP of the Tavern Furniture Bowl, which was an OU win, to refresh your memory. But he looked really uncomfortable. Missed a couple long touchdowns that were just simply overthrown. So the Bobcats need Curtis Rourke. So fortunately, he is not. He apparently was not hurt badly, and that was just a precautionary thing. A couple other things from Saturday. Sam Hartman might be good. He seemed to be pretty comfortable in Ireland, at least, leading the Irish. USC's defense. If Sam Hartman is good, USC's defense, which gave up 400 yards and 28 points to San Jose State, might not be. I don't know what that's about. I recall that being something of an issue last year, but we'll see. I mean, this is very early week 0 games. You can't put a whole lot of credence in what you're seeing, because it's week 0, and that's everyone's getting adjusted. Everyone. And everyone, even I listened to his thing. AJ's not. He didn't need a whole lot of adjustment time to jump right into his After Dark program. But he is back this week with a mess of games because everybody's playing.
Yes.
So AJ, let's hear what you got.
Good evening. It is this week's Group of 5 After Dark report for week 1 of the 2023 college football season. We start on Thursday. NC State at UConn, 7:30 p.m. on CBS-SN, the Network of Champions. North Carolina State, -15. NC State, what are you doing? Who agreed to this? You know you could play UConn at home, right? Is there like some vaunted, unknown recruiting hotbed in Rhode Island that no one knows about, and that's why you're playing this game? This is a bad idea. If you lose this game, put Jim Mora on the fast track for a higher job based on what he did last season and beating NC State at home. Yeah, he deserves it. At 8 p.m. on ESPN, we have Florida at Utah. Utah is favored by 6.5. Florida is finally leaving the state of Florida for an out-of-conference game for the first time since 1991, where they lost to Syracuse. They're changing multiple time zones in the process, and they're meeting up with a team that plays like a wheelbarrow full of bricks falling down a flight of stairs. Last year, they eked out a home win against the eventual Pac-12 champs. Can they do it again? I'm inclined to say no. Utah gets it done at Rice-Eccles. On Friday, we have Louisville at Georgia Tech, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Louisville -7.5. This is a home-ish game for Georgia Tech. They're not playing at Bobby Dodd. They're playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's the start of the Jeff Brom era in Louisville. Are we done with prodigal son coaches? Why do we have to keep doing this? Like, we don't have to. This has not worked out for many a team recently. Let's not do this anymore. Louisville should cruise, but I'd like to see some life from the Yellow Jackets. I think they hired a good interim in Brent Key, and turning him into the full-time head coach, I think is a great idea. We got Stanford at Hawaii. Hawaii test on Friday night, 11 p.m. on CBS-SN, the Network of Champions. Stanford -3.5. Hawaii, you almost beat Vandy. In fact, in my mind, you should have beaten Vandy. A.J. Swan was over the line, and I will go to my grave saying that. He was super over the line, and the refs, with the hometown cooking, decided to let him have that long throw, which led to a Vandy touchdown. Vandy wins by a touchdown. There's your problem. So I think Hawaii is on a really good track. They kept up with Vandy, went shot for shot. That's not to say that Vandy is the highest level talent, but they have SEC level talent, and that is a big, big deal. So, can they get Stanford was down real bad at the end of the year. They let go of David Shaw. They hire Sacramento State head coach Troy Taylor. Sacramento State was a perennial FCS playoff contender. Can he bring those winning ways in? A lot of emotions. I think Hawaii wins. Saturday, 2 p.m. ESPN Plus. That's right. We're going directly to your streaming services on Saturday. We have Northern Iowa at Iowa State. Iowa and Iowa State are not required by law to play Northern Iowa. So I am again asking, why are you doing this? UNI is a perennial FCS playoff team. They will make you look bad. There's no upside here. If you win, hooray, you beat an FCS team. If you lose, you lost to an FCS team. The Cyclones can't look ahead to El Assico. Iowa State wins a close one here. 3:30 p.m. ABC, Boise State at Washington. Washington's favored by 14.5. Boise State starts the season with an absolutely brutal slate of games, so I'm instituting a new segment that I'm calling Boise Watch. Washington is good, and they're a playoff contender. Michael Penix Jr., most of that offense is back. This is not how you want to start your campaign, Boise. Can your defense slow down Washington enough and your offense keep up points-wise to make this a shootout? I don't know. If they can, this is super fun. If not, this is not going to be fun in any way, shape, or form. Put your eyeballs on this game. Washington wins. 7 p.m. FS1, UTSA at Houston. UTSA -1 at Houston. Y'all, this is the game of the week, in my opinion. We have two evenly matched teams, both heading to new conferences, looking to make names for themselves and prove that they belong. UTSA is going to the American, Houston to the Big 12. This should be an absolute banger of a game, and Houston, for your sake, I hope you found a defense somewhere in the offseason. Put your eyeballs on this game as well. 7:30 p.m. on CBS. No real preview here. Texas Tech at Wyoming. Texas Tech favored by 14. It's just Cowboys playing Cowboys in Laramie. Just, keep an eye on this game just for funsies, but it's just going to be beautiful, and just let that happen. 8 p.m. ESPNU, South Alabama at Tulane. Tulane -6. We have another G5 banger. South Alabama had one of the best defenses in the country last year. Can they slow down Tulane, who brings back most of their offense? Does Tulane look ahead to Ole Miss? That's right, Ole Miss is coming to town. Preview of next week's preview. This game should just rule. You should absolutely put your eyeballs in this one. I think Tulane rolls, but South Alabama is nothing to play with. Our nightcap on Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. on ESPN, Coastal Carolina at UCLA. UCLA is favored by 14.5. I'm really sad that Jamie Chadwell left for Chick-fil-A University, because seeing his offense with Grayson McCall up against Chip Kelly and their new 5-star recruit quarterback, Dante Moore, that would have been just an absolute sight. It would have been pointsy as all heck, the stuff that we look for in our late night games. Can the Beach Chickens keep it rolling without Chadwell? I'm finding that debatable. I think the Bruins win. By the way, it's the last season of the Pac-12. You have to stay up for the 10:30 Pac-12 games. Pac-12 After Dark is dead after this year, so you have to go out with a bang. Stay up late. Sunday, Northwestern at Rutgers, 12 p.m. It's Northwestern. It's Rutgers in Piscataway on a Sunday, only on CBS. Don't watch this game. Just don't. You have other things to do on a Sunday. This ain't it. 3:30 p.m. on CBS, though. Oregon State at San Jose State. Okay, now you turn on CBS. This is the Beaver Revenge Tour. They got done dirty by the rest of their conference. They finally put together a good team. The entire conference dissolves. The Chainsaw Turnover Trophy might have a chain on it this year, like a real one that they could use to provide damage to other teams. San Jose State held their own against USC last week. DJ Uiagalelei is now the quarterback at Oregon State, and Jonathan Smith runs a heck of an offense. San Jose State playing well against USC. Oregon State, feisty as always, looking to make a name for themselves in what's left of the Pac-12 and possibly the Big 12, fingers crossed. I think the Beavers roll here. This has been your Group of 5 report for this week, week 1. I'm so excited about a new season, and I'm going to turn it back over to Carla and Crappy. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kuftick. We appreciate your input as always, and those are going to be fun ones. We have fun ones, and
We do.
And we're starting. You guys will have this show in your listening devices on Thursday morning, because there are games on Thursday evening that you need to be watching.
Yes.
There's one, the one that we're going to start with, I think, is going to be on in Carla's house.
You think?
Just maybe at 8 p.m. on Thursday, August 31st, on ESPN. Florida at number 14, Utah. The Utes are favored by the Utes. The Utes are favored by 6.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a different kind of fun, 46.5 points. Carla, is David feeling anxious about this? Is Gator Nation feeling anxious about this? Because they ought to be.
They should be, yes. I don't remember who I was watching on the SEC network on Saturday night during the Vandy Hawaii game, who they asked him they asked the analyst like what the chances were of Florida beating Utah, and he said, this is on the SEC network. Yeah. He said 3%. So that shows you how optimistic SEC Nation is about Florida in this game. And yeah, it's, the fun index is because of Utah's defense. And we've known about Utah's defense for a really long time, right? It's been years and years and years of Utah's defense just being absolutely stellar. Florida, like, I hate to say this is an eek year overall for the Gators, right?
As in,
yeah. Not a lot of returning talent. They're building at running back. They brought in quarterback Graham Mertz from Wisconsin, who showed flashes of like being a good quarterback when he was up in Madison.
Occasionally.
But
and then other times
we were like, what are you doing? Right. But there are a lot of freshmen on the two deep on both sides of the ball for the Gators this year. Gators fans are getting restless. Napier's got his work cut out in year 2. To really kind of win this fan base over, because missing bowl games 2 years in a row is not going to sit well. Meanwhile, Utah, Cam Rising back for his 6th year, and as I've mentioned a number of times, that Rose Bowl would have been a completely different game had he not gotten hurt. He is a good quarterback, but will he start on Thursday? The Utah coaching staff is like mum on whether or not Cam is actually going to start the game on Thursday, coming back from that ACL injury. But I don't think Rising is a factor here. Whether he plays or not, that defense is so good and that defensive line is solid. I don't know that Florida's got an offense.
Okay.
Yet. It's all kind of piecemealed together at this point. Yeah, you've got some good names on that offense. Yeah, you've got what looks like some potential on that offense, but these guys haven't played together yet. And this is a huge ask to go on the road to Salt Lake in the altitude against that defense on your first game playing together on offense. There's just too many questions for Florida here. This is a Utah win.
Okay.
Sorry, honey.
Sorry, honey. You can say for 2 Rose Bowls in a row might have turned out differently. It had not been for injuries with Cam Rising. My Buckeyes had to pull together a comeback a couple Rose Bowls ago against the same Utes, and I have a lot of respect for Willingham and what they've done out there. This game. We referenced Hawaii and Vandy as a game that happened last year. This game happened last year, this week as well, and it was like the season's first instant classic. Fantastic game with Florida edging out the Utes at the game's end. When you switch out the swamp for the Wasatch Mountains and a building where Utah hasn't lost since 2020. Ouch. And then, as Carla enumerated the various questions about Florida and the state of that team, speaking of Utes, that's a very, very young team, very, very tough place to play. And you make those changes and you think, okay, this game is going to go differently this year, and it may not be close. We will see, but this is a win for Utah. Also on Thursday night at 8 p.m. on Fox, I included this one just because it's the first Big Ten game on the schedule, and you couldn't get something that is more Big Ten-ier than Nebraska at Minnesota. The Gophers are favored by 7. AJ Fun Index of an even lower 43.5 points. Carla, what do you think?
Yeah. Matt Rule gets a heck of a first game as Huskers head coach.
Yes, this is a challenge.
Yeah. So the new quarterback for the Huskers is Georgia Tech transfer Jeff Sims. Casey Thompson, the ex-Texas quarterback who started last year for Nebraska, has portaled to FAU, of all places.
Okay.
So what happened there? He's reunited with Tom Herman, because Tom Herman's on the coaching staff now at FAU, and so he's reunited.
Okay.
He's reunited with the coach that recruited him for his final season. So,
and it feels so good.
Yeah, it's going to be that's an intriguing transfer, and something to keep your eye on.
Okay.
Defensively for Nebraska, they should be pretty good. Their top 3 tacklers from last year return. They've got lots of experience, especially in the secondary. So that's a reason why this fun index is not so fun.
It's what it is.
Yeah. Minnesota is like rolling out a whole new offense. All of their interior offensive linemen, and Mohamed Ibrahim, the force that he was as the school's all-time leading rusher, are all gone, as is quarterback Tanner Morgan. So you have a new quarterback who is a sophomore, Ethan Kaliakamanis. This is a DJU situation.
Okay, we're not picking a Minnesota game for the rest of the season.
I need to go check the media guide to see how to pronounce his name. I'm very sorry, Ethan.
I'm just not doing that now.
He's got a bunch of receiving talent waiting for him.
Okay, yeah.
Scouting reports say he's got an arm.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know. He's a sophomore. We haven't seen him yet. The line for this game, Gophers by 7.
Mm-hmm.
That feels right. I think this game's going to be close. I think these are two teams that are kind of starting over in a lot of ways, and the fact that Minnesota is playing at home, I think that gives some of the scouting reports I read said this is kind of PJ Fleck's like biggest rebuilding that since he's gotten to Minnesota. So there's a lot of questions on both sides here. I'm going to give the Gophers the edge at home because of that returning experience. But this one, if you like Big Ten football, and obviously we do, this one has the potential to be a pretty good game, even if it's not high scoring. So keep an eye on this one. If Florida Utah gets out of hand, and it might, have this one handy to flip over to, because I think this game's going to be close until the end, even if it's not an offensive juggernaut.
Okay,
but Gophers at home.
Gophers at home. PJ is rowing his boat in Minneapolis, boating to a 9-4 record last year, which included a bowl win over Syracuse. As noted, he has some talent to replace at quarterback, and Ibrahim was an all-timer running back for that program. We don't know what mode of transportation new Nebraska coach Matt Rule is going to adopt in Lincoln. Maybe a tank that would be helpful. And I think appropriate is as we look at the history of Nebraska football. Even then, even if they do adopt the tank or whatever mode of transportation it's going to be, I think the Huskers are going to struggle a bit with their opener on the road or the river or whatever where PJ is rowing his boat. Gophers are going to win this one. Friday, September 1st. It's going to be September.
I know.
It's so exciting. 7 p.m. on the ACC network. Miami University at the University of Miami.
It's a palindrome game.
You guys got that? The smart folks will know which one is which. We will make this clear. But the Canes are favored by 16. AJ Fun Index of a also not fun. I'm sorry, AJ, but I picked some really interesting games as far as from your perspective. AJ Fun Index of 45 points. Carla, Miami versus Miami. Miami on Miami violence. What's going to happen here?
Okay, so first of all, everybody remember the Miami Hurricanes lost a game like this last year.
I remember it was to oh wait, it was to middle.
It was to middle. So for everybody that is like scoffing about this game, like, okay, yeah, Miami's going to win this game big, just keep that in the back of your minds, okay? Because you better believe that if the Red Hawks keep this game close early, there's going to be some nervous hands at Hard Rock. Yeah. Miami, the Ohio version, is predicted to be one of the top, if not the top team in the MAC this year, depending on who you ask. Quarterback Brett.
Ask me.
Ask you. Yeah, no, I know who you've picked to win the MAC. Quarterback Brett Gabbert is back after he missed a lot of last year with an injury. They've got 6 starters back on defense. This is a good team, and it's a good team in the MAC. And MAC teams do well against Power 5 competition historically. So this is nothing for the Hurricanes to like gloss over for a week 1 opponent. The Hurricanes get their quarterback back this year. Tyler Van Dyke also missed a bunch of last year with an injury. But they got a new offensive coordinator, which is really interesting. Shannon Dawson, who's bringing an air raid offense to South Beach. But the Canes have a whole bunch of questions at wide receiver. So that's one of those like 2 things that don't mix and match, right? You're bringing an air raid offense, but you don't know what your receiving core is like. So you know you've got a good quarterback, but who's he going to throw the ball to? We don't know. They've got a mixed bag on defense, some solid returners, but they're replacing some key pieces in the secondary. I'm still going to say I'm going to go with the obvious pick here and say the University of Miami wins this game. But the Red Hawks cover. That line is ridiculous.
Okay.
There's so many unknowns for the Hurricanes, and the Red Hawks are a good team. They're going to keep this a lot more interesting than a 35-point line or whatever that was. So, so yeah, go Mac.
Go Mac. It's interesting that you had mentioned the spread because I brought that up. I noticed that as well. Has Miami on Miami violence ever happened before? It has once in 1987. Those of you who are old enough might recall that the Canes won a national championship in 1987. That year they beat the Miami University 54-3. This is not that University of Miami team, however. In fact, the idea that this team could win a national title is kind of silly. The folks who have not the misguided individuals who have not picked Ohio University to win the MAC East have almost unanimously picked Miami as the best team in that division. And so this, as Carla noted, this is a very good football team. I think the line here is ridiculous. And if with some early success, this very easily could be an upset. Because Miami's in a Miami of Ohio is in a good enough position to take advantage of a team, a Power 5 team that's disinterested or discouraged or whatever the case may be. I'm going to pick the Florida Miamis over the Ohio Miamis to win, but not cover. That line is dumb and it's not going to happen. First time I get to say this season, Saturday, September 2nd, Big Nude.
Woo!
On Fox, Colorado, which has had an eventful offseason. At number 17, TCU, which had an eventful postseason. The Horny Toads are favored by 20.5 points. AJ Fun Index of a decidedly more fun 64. Carla?
Coach Prime gets the prime treatment starting his Colorado stint on Big Nude, right? I mean, that's kind of a big deal there. We talked about this extensively during our summer previews. There's so much unknown about Colorado with an essential, entire roster turnover and all of the things that have changed for Colorado in the offseason. New coaching staff, you got Coach Prime, you've got almost all new players. It's the great experiment, right? And we went over that ad nauseum. Will this work? we're going to start finding out on Saturday. What's interesting, a little side note about this game, next year, this is a conference game.
True.
So that'll be interesting.
Mhm.
TCU, Horny Toads coming off of a national title appearance. They've got Chandler Morris back at quarterback, which is kind of funny to say because Chandler Morris, if we all remember, he actually started the season at quarterback for TCU, got hurt, and then we were reintroduced to the man by the name of Max Dugan, who took the team to a national title, or national title appearance, excuse me. So Morris gets his job back because Dugan is gone. Horny Toads also picked up a key transfer in Bama running back Trey Sanders. He actually did see some playing time for Bama. That's a name that should be relatively that's a name that you recognize. So that's kind of a big that's a big portaling moment. And they got lots of other transfers on offense that should make a difference pretty quickly. They've got defense has some good experience returning, but to be perfectly honest, the Horny Toads defense was not very good last year. That was like the big knock against them when they got to the title game.
Right.
Was that they weren't very good on defense. So anything above what they had last year is going to be an improvement. And they're looking for a new pass rusher because their top pass rushers are all now gone too. So lots of questions for this team on defense. Will the new pieces on offense come together? Is this team a national title contender? No. Will this team beat Buffalo at home on Saturday? Yes.
Coach Prime may be ready for his return to big boy ball, but his buffs are going to need some work. The Horny Toads here, that's just it's the only thing you can do is look at this game and think, yeah, TCU, this is a win at home. 7:30 on Saturday evening, when Carla's multi-screen television watching gets underway on NBC, the first time, the first entry into NBC's Big Ten Saturday Night or whatever it is. Is that what they're calling it? Something like that.
Something like that.
I don't know if we get Carrie Underwood singing or whatever. Who does that? Is that Carrie Underwood?
Yes, Carrie Underwood does the Sunday Night Football.
Okay,
yes.
I don't know if we get one of those or not. I don't. But the commercials have been pretty cool. And heavy on a Penn State whiteout video, which is appropriate for this. West Virginia at number 7, Penn State. Penn State is favored, like the Horny Toads, by 20.5 points. An AJ Fund index of a respectable Big Ten number, 50.5. Carla, your Knits. How's this going to go?
Drew Aller, you're up. Let's do this. This is when we're going to get to see this kid for real. And we saw him in certain situations last year coming in for Clifford. But now we're going to see if this kid is for real. And going up against a decent West Virginia team here. Penn State offense, if Aller is as good as the billing that he's had, offense should be exceptional. One of the best Penn State offenses we've seen in a long time in Happy Valley. Between Nick Singleton and Katron Allen at running back, we saw them both. AJ sent us I thought it was a really fun video. Everybody else kind of cringed about it, but the fun video about Penn State scoring in the wing tee. And the number of times that Penn State's offense ran the wing tee like 30 yards out, and Singleton still scored, which is just kind of funny. Now, true, it was against a pretty bad defense that they were running those plays against, but still, right? There's some really good things happening on offense. 2 key transfers at wide receiver to go along with Lambert Smith. Lambert Smith was the one that had that really beautiful catch in the Rose Bowl. Defense looks to continue to build. They will need to replace Joey Porter Jr. That's not an easy hole to fill. But you've got cornerback Kalen King is back, who's one of the top pass defenders in the nation. So this team has the makings of being a Big Ten title contender. Your test on Saturday is going to be the Mountaineers ground game. They have gone all in on the running game. They return all 5 offensive linemen and all, yes, hear me, 4 running backs.
4.
They rotate 4 backs in their offense. They have gone all in on the run. So this defensive line, such as it is, we're going to find out if they're for real. Don't really have to worry much about passing attack. So replacement for Joey Porter Jr., you might actually get a nice game to kind of figure things out. So that's good. So we're going to have some time to kind of figure some things out with the secondary. but that defensive line is going to get a test in this game, and that is going to be the biggest test here. The good news for that Nittany Lion offense is the fact that West Virginia has a lot of questions on defense. So I feel pretty good about this game. If this game was in Morgantown, I would feel much differently about this game because, as we've talked about on this show, weird things happen in night games in Morgantown.
True.
But this game is in the comfy confines of Happy Valley. Season opener, Saturday night. Penn State wins this game.
Okay. NBC starts its series of Saturday night Big Ten games with a doozy. Kind of the traditional Eastern football rivalry thing. It's not a whiteout, but our friends in Happy Valley always tend to show up, for night games of any variety. So I think maybe you have a blue and white out, one of those the stripy ones. I don't know. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing.
Or the checkerboard or something. They do all kinds of fun stuff.
They do fun stuff like that. Your thorough as always analysis aside, I think the Mountaineers are overmatched here, and Penn State's offense is going to score a lot, and a running game is not. It's not going to keep up. The Mountaineers are not going to be able to keep up. They are overmatched, and we're going to get a good look at what I think is going to be a really, really good Penn State team, which will just gonna my anxiety for the rest of the season until
we've got a little bit of time there.
We've got a little time. 7 also at 7:30 on ABC. This is perhaps not on Carla's list of priorities, but we're gonna get to our games. We're gonna get to our games before the show is over. 7:30 on ABC. Number 21 North Carolina versus South Carolina. This is at Charlotte, a neutral site. Mike says with air quotes. UNC is favored by 2.5 points. AJ Fun Index of a fun 64.5. Carla, the battle for the Carolinas. Regardless of what NC State and Clemson might have to say about this, what do you think?
Yeah, this game, there's a lot happening in this game, particularly with the circumstances happening this week, which kind of, changes the tenor of the game just a little bit here, because you have to believe that there will be at least some sort of mention of what happened on campus this week in Chapel Hill. Mm-hmm. As part of that game. You have to believe that the Heels are going to come into this game. They're already the ranked team here, mm-hmm. wanting to assert themselves as being the favorite in this game. And now having a little bit of emotional play here as well, mm-hmm. To really kind of rally for their school. So there's a lot going on here. The Tar Heels, football-wise, offense is its strength. You've got Drake May coming back at quarterback, who had a heck of a first year for the Heels. They lost their top 2 receivers, but they picked up 2 transfers at that position, so they should probably be okay. Defensively, what defense last year, right?
I mean, it's fine if you have one.
Yeah.
UNC doesn't, so it's okay.
They didn't all year. And so this year they've got some experience at linebacker, but they lost 6 players in the secondary to the portal. So we have, to borrow our 2020 phrase, we have no idea. Is North Carolina going to have a defense? We don't know. We'll find out, though, because they're going to play Spencer Rattler, who is a good quarterback. He of the former Oklahoma State variety. And they were the team that absolutely nobody wanted to play at the end of the season last year. They got hot in the last month of the season and just steamrolled everybody. And ask Tennessee about that. So Rattler opted to come back instead of entering the draft, as did Juice Wells, who's a heck of a receiver. So you've got kind of the key pieces to that South Carolina offense there. Defensively, their secondary is actually pretty good, but they need to make some major improvements in their run defense. Part of the reason why there's a couple of people said that part of the reason why their secondary was so good was because nobody had to throw the ball against them because they could just run down their throats all day. So So a lot of questions here. We talked about South Carolina, contender or pretender, in the offseason, and how it looks like they're a team that needs a little bit more time to gel.
Mm-hmm.
And then can North Carolina find a ground game? We talk a lot about their passing attack. Can they find a ground game to go against that questionable run defense against South Carolina? If they can get a ground game going, this is a I want to say Carolina win. That doesn't help me here. A North Carolina win. And playing in Charlotte too also helps the fictional neutral site. So I'm going to say too many questions right now in South Carolina. You don't want to play South Carolina in November. I think that's going to happen again this year. I think South Carolina is going to put their pieces together, and they're going to be that team you don't want to play in the second half.
Okay.
But I think right now North Carolina has more pieces together. This game could get pointsy. It has the potential of a couple of offenses that with big questions on defense. So this one could be fun. But I'm going to say North Carolina.
If you were looking for a game this weekend that perhaps the over under seems a little under. This might be the one. This might be the one to take the over, even at 64.5. The battle for the Carolinas looks to be an exciting game for the reasons that Carla mentioned, particularly the defensive struggles for both teams. And this game is in the Dukes Mayo Kickoff Classic. Not at all ironically, the last two times these teams played was 2 seasons ago, with the Gamecocks winning the Dukes Mayo Bowl in the very same building. Can Spencer Rattler and South Carolina continue their giant killing run that they started late last year? I think in this game they do. So grab yourself a BLT with extra mayo. Yeah, and watch the Gamecocks win. Sunday, yes, college games on Sunday. Why can't we do this the whole season and just forget about that other?
It might be the best game of the weekend on Sunday.
On paper, it certainly is. This is at 7:30 on ABC. Number 5 LSU versus number 8 Florida State at Orlando. LSU is favored by 2.5 points. AJ Fun Index of a solid 58. This is like Florida Utah, another game that was played last season, and like Florida Utah, a breathtaking finish.
Yes.
Fantastic game a year ago. Can we live up to that again this time?
I think so.
Okay.
This is the game. I mean, last year Florida State eked that game out when it looked like LSU was going to come back and steal it at the end. And then they missed the extra point, right? That was how Florida State won the game.
Yeah.
I believe. And I think this game's going to be just as good. This is the game we're going to find out if Florida State's a contender, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of their biggest hurdle over it in the course of the season. Even though it's not a conference matchup, this is a huge game for them. If they, are able to run the table in the ACC, this would be a key win to get them into the playoffs. So they need this game. We'll find out on Sunday if this team is for real. They've got Florida State has lots of experience on both sides of the ball and one of the top quarterbacks in the country in Jordan Davis. LSU's got a bunch of returners as well. They've got a bunch of returners on offense. Defensively, though, only 4 returning starters. They've got a lot of turnover on defense. They used portal transfers to be able to fill some gaps in the secondary, but there's still lots of questions defensively. I think that's the reason that Florida State wins this game. I think it's because the LSU defense is still kind of trying to figure things out. To play a top 10 opponent in your first game on a quote unquote neutral site. Which is okay. Orlando and Tallahassee, that's actually quite a distance. So this is kind of more of a neutral site, but you're still playing in the state of Florida. Florida State all around on paper has more consistency, has more returners, has the potential to make a run here. I don't know if LSU is ready for that yet. Now, if this game was being played in week 3, I might feel a little differently about it.
Okay.
But I think at this point, this is a game that Florida State comes out and asserts, yes, we need to be a part of the conversation, but this game's going to be spectacular. It's going to be close. I'm going to say the Noles find a way to eke it out 2 years in a row.
Okay. I am so looking forward to seeing this matchup of the two fantastic quarterbacks, two fantastic offenses. The experience that Florida State has on the defensive side of the ball, I think, is the difference here. That and the again, to use the air quotes, neutral site. Those neutral sites do kind of mean something, and I think in this instance, it will. I would give Florida State an edge here. Don't miss this game. It's gonna be a good one. So make sure you have your TV on Sunday night. And then we wrap up on Monday, September 4th, which would be Labor Day, 8 p.m. on ESPN. Number 9, Clemson at Duke. Clemson is favored by 13. AJ Fun Index is 55.5 points. Somewhere along the line, Duke, I'm not sure when or how this happened, but Duke figured out how to be good at football, Carla.
They did. Yeah, they're really gaining momentum. They went 8-4 last year.
Yeah.
They went 8-4 last year. Made a bowl appearance. They're returning lots of starters, including 9 on offense.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Duke team that I'm not going to say they're going to come out and compete for an ACC title, but I think they could mess some contenders' schedules up. And this is one of those games, right? And they're playing at home. And so your question here, which was the question we had about Clemson a couple of times last year, is what's your motivation factor? They were all over the place last year. There were just times that they showed up and it looked like they were slightly uninterested. The consistency was not there last year for Clemson. And so we're going to find out if that has been addressed in the offseason. They're returning their quarterback. Cade Klubnik really ended the season pretty well, had a great performance in the ACC title game. He individually had a decent performance in the Orange Bowl, even though his team got beat pretty badly by Tennessee.
Yeah.
But he had a good performance there. So we've seen that he can be a good quarterback. Is he ready to step up and take control of this offense? Defensively, Clemson lost 4 starters to the draft. So they've got some holes to plug on defense. This is a game that I think Duke can make interesting for a deep into the game. I think Duke hangs with Clemson for a while here. Makes this game interesting, especially because they're playing at home. I think top to bottom, Clemson on paper has the stronger, more talented team and should win this game. I think Duke makes this really uncomfortable for Clemson. But Clemson finds a way towards the end to eke out a win here.
Okay. I hope the Dukies that show up for their basketball games show up for this one. I know that's I assume they're back in school by now, but I know it's a holiday and blah 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 blah. But they could make a difference in this game and give their team a real home field advantage if they do. As you mentioned, 8-4 season plus a bowl win against UCF for Duke. This has happened in conjunction with Clemson being, let's say, less good in recent years by their standards, at least.
Yep.
Am I picking an upset? No. But if we go back into the annals of the Carla and Crappy Show, this could be a Clemsoning situation.
It could.
It really, really could. I think Clemson is the pick here, but watch out if Duke gets off to a good start, has a good bunch of support from the home crowd. I think this could be a fun game. Could be a fun game to watch. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube and the show's Facebook page. And for the first time this season, go subscribe. You can read us on Substack.
Woo!
Please
go subscribe.
Go subscribe. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next week to see exactly how wrong we were. Carla, any final thoughts? You have another game at 7:30, I believe.
I do have another
Saturday.
game at 7:30. Again, 2 games that I need to be watching happening at the exact same time. And if you hadn't figured that out, that is the MTSU at Alabama, number 4 Alabama, which is weird to say. Which is on national television, 7:30 Saturday night on the SEC network.
They're ripe for the picking, Carla.
They're ripe for the picking. I will say this. It's going to be a spectacular weekend on campus, the way that they've got this all set up. There is an official send-off of the team buses happening on Friday. The students are all going to gather, the band's going to gather, and it's going to be a huge, big party on Friday afternoon as the players are boarding the bus to go down there. The university administration is hosting a watch party on campus with food in the student union. So if you are a student, if you are one of my students listening to this podcast, because some of you heard about it this week while I was teaching my first classes, go to the party, go hang out, go meet your fellow students, go root on your team. I hope they keep it interesting. That's my hope in this game, is that I hope, but Middle has upset Power 5 teams before. Are they going to beat Alabama? Probably not. But I think they have the ability to keep the game interesting for longer than people are expecting. So I hope that the Blue Raiders are able to keep that game interesting. It'll be a fun experience for all involved. So one other quick thing. Yeah. Has nothing to do with TSU football, but go Blue Raiders. It was announced either earlier today or yesterday. I don't remember which. I saw the report today while I was doing research for the show. If you would like to get the full college football experience, check your local theater listings. I'm not joking about that. There are 4 games, ESPN, ABC broadcasts, that will be broadcast in select movie theaters this weekend. And that is the Carolinas, the Duke Mayo kickoff classic, Virginia, Tennessee, LSU, FSU on Sunday night, which, I mean, come on, go watch that game in a movie theater. Let's go. And Clemson, Duke on Monday night. So go look up your local theater listings.
That's cool.
And if you're looking for a real kind of unique experience, take your friends to the movie theater, eat some bad popcorn, and let's go football.
I'm not sure that I could do it. Like if Ohio State was involved, I'm not sure I could do that in the movie theater, because I'm standing and sitting and pacing and I
couldn't do it for one of my teams, but like to go watch LSU, FSU, like I'm all in, because I have no rooting interest in that game. We need one of those theaters with the reclining seats, and you come back, and maybe a theater that serves adult beverages, that sort of stuff. Yep.
That wouldn't be bad. That would not be bad. The game that I'm going to be paying the most attention to happens at 3:30 on Saturday. Ohio State travels to Indiana. I have 2 thoughts. First, I cannot tell you how much I love the fact that one of my games is the first Big Ten game to be on CBS and use that music that everyone is associated with the SEC for so long. It's ours now. It's our music now.
This is not fair, because you get the cool music and I get a Collinsworth.
I don't think Chris Collinsworth is that bad. Now, I mean, his brother, I don't know how Chris got him a job or something. I don't know how that worked. Anyway, so I'm happy just about the theme music. I think that's going to be fantastic. I like 3:30 games in addition to that. Second, we know now, this came up today, I believe, on Tuesday as we tape, that Kyle McCord is going to get the start for Ohio State at Indiana. I think you look for Devin Brown to make a statement with his athleticism. He's going to get some playing time, and I think, unfortunately, we're going to be talking about Ohio State quarterbacks and what's going on for a while, and I hope not too deep into the season where we start asking the question about, if you have two quarterbacks. Do you not actually have any quarterbacks? I'm confident in both of these guys, but that's a situation that I would like to avoid. At some point you got to name one guy and have a backup. So we'll see. tune in at 3:30 on Saturday to CBS. Da, 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 and we will find out how that's going to go. It's our music now.
It's the only good thing that came out of the meteorite deal.
That and some money.
Well, the money, yeah.
There
but
was a lot of that and a lot of money. Thank you, boys and girls, for watching. Thank you, Carla.
Yes, thank you.
I feel like this is like officially kicked off the 12th season, right?
Yes. It's the first like we were just talking about this before we hit the record button. Like, this is the first like quote unquote normal show that we've done in like I don't know how long, because at the end of last year it was like Bowlapalooza and playoff and all that. So it's been a while.
It would be AJ was on with us for Rivalry Week.
Rivalry Week. Yes, he was.
I think it was.
Yeah,
so it's been November. It's mid-November. So, but anyway, I go Blue Raiders. That'd be I can't tell you how awesome that would be. Cheers to you, Carla.
Yes,
thank you very much. As I lift my I have a liter Paulaner mug from Munich, and I'm jumping the gun because I want it to be fall, and it's almost September, which means it's almost Oktoberfest, which means it's almost fall, and I'm very happy. So
hey, pumpkins in stores.
Pumpkin's been in stores since April, so maybe not quite that early. But anyway, cheers to you, Carla.
Cheers.
And cheers to you guys. Thank you once again for watching. We hope you enjoy the show and come back next week. We will do it all again.